Hello, I am Dr. Mirela Cernăianu, and I welcome you to the Wellness Optimizing Warrior MD podcast, the WOW MD podcast. I am not your typical wellness coach, and this is not a typical wellness podcast. Here, I'll discuss educational facts about health, hormones, intimacy, anti-aging, and beauty trends, all very hot topics, to empower you to make great choices when it comes to your health and to your body. I want you to go, wow, I did not know that. Or, wow, this is going to make a great difference for me. Our healthcare system is broken and it needs a revolution. You and I can start one today. I am willing to share my knowledge with the world if you're willing to listen. Let's get started. Thank you for tuning back to the Wellness Optimizing Warrior podcast. The past 3 episodes were all focused on wellness versus disease, how to choose a doctor, how to choose a wellness doctor. Do we need wellness doctors? So it's really all about doctors. And what I'd like to talk about in today's episode is about the medical team, because I would like to provide you with some very valuable information that you should consider when you choose a medical practice, and consider this podcast episode as educational and something that will really make you more prepared in not just choosing a practice, but engaging with that practice and continuing to stay as a member of that practice, of that healthcare team. Again, it's not all about the doctor. It's also all about the team. But just to recap, in the previous couple of episodes, I reviewed the top qualities we're looking for in a doctor. We need a physician that ideally gives you the time you need. We need a doctor that ideally has a very broad, up-to-date education, knowledge, and experience. And foremost, we would like to have a doctor who ideally listens to you. These are the major qualities you should look for in a doctor. One that will specifically be listening to you and your concerns, whether they're related to medical care, you're receiving your medical problem, your feedback regarding the way the practice is run, regarding access to the practice, the medical staff, all of that. So you want a doctor who listens and does something after he or she listens. Another quality that was very high on the list of desirable qualities when I queried different people while I was doing my research was finding a physician and a medical practice who cares about you, the patient. Unfortunately, many instances and circumstances, clients of a medical practice become nothing more than just another consumer that comes in seeking a specific medical service. And once the service is performed and the billing is done or the payment is collected, there is no communication and no services provided until time comes for another medical service. Access to prompt and good quality or excellent quality medical care has become a problem. And it's become more and more difficult for patients to find a doctor and a practice that will not only accept them promptly, but continue to take care of them in a prompt and efficient manner. And that's due to many reasons, including practices and doctors being overwhelmed with the demand and shrinking down the ranks and not allowing so many people to come in due to the fact that many of them are going concierge and private out of network or completely closing down their practices and going to work for a big entity, corporation, or organization. So I would like to discuss here a major, huge flaw in our medical system and the way medical teams are set up, which unfortunately directly impacts patients and all consumers for medical services of any kind. This really involves the medical team, which is always ignored. And doctors come out of medical school not prepared or trained to be a leader of this medical team. More to come on this topic in a little bit. To kind of get started on this topic, clearly we all know, and is very clear, when you make an appointment to see the doctor, the provider. So at the core and front and center of the medical team is always the medical provider. Whether that medical provider, it's a medical doctor, a registered injector nurse, a family nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, etc. Now, a very important extension of the medical provider is the medical team, composed of the front office medical personnel and the back office medical personnel. And they are always in direct contact with the patient. The front office personnel is usually responsible for contact with the client before, during, and after an appointment. And the back office is usually responsible for contact with the client during the appointment, as their direct role is to support the physician during the medical service that will be provided, with either that being a consultation or a procedure. The back office will also handle medication refill requests and processing. They will handle paperwork like blood tests and imaging tests ordered. And last but not least, they will draw blood or perform EKGs as needed. Each medical team member is a very valuable component and an absolutely integral cog in the ideally well-oiled machine that will ultimately strive to provide excellent care and outstanding customer service to you, the patient. Here's the thing, we're all humans. So the quality of the people that are on the team, their attitude, their goals, and their personal beliefs are and will be a factor in the type of assistance and the type of care you're going to receive from the medical team members that support the doctor. One thing that I like to discuss in this episode, and it might be a little bit of a detour, is why medical teams have so much trouble servicing and providing outstanding, ideal customer service to patients. All of us are going through a period called the Great Resignation for a reason. Since the pandemic, a large amount of the workforce has been floating around in between jobs, seeking what they feel is the next best opportunity for them without any forward thinking into how this floating around between jobs is going to affect their future and how poorly it looks on their resumes. And that is the truth. Some of the medical workforce literally drifts through different positions without any thought on their part of how this will impact the practice that they've been hired to support at the moment they decide to leave and go somewhere else for the promise of something slightly better than what they already had. As a business owner and a medical practice team leader, I can attest to the fact that it's been extremely hard and difficult to find good people. It's been very hard to find excellent people. In my 10 years of owning a business, I have had to go through quite a few front office receptionists, patient care coordinators, and back office medical assistants. And maybe that is because I expect and demand hard work and perfection. And maybe because in the past, as a team leader, I was really influenced by the belief, easy come, easy go. There's plenty of fish in the sea of prospective employees, and I'll find somebody else. However, it took me this long to realize that what most doctors don't care to see is that the team that we lead, our medical team, is an extension of us. And they need to be exceptional in their interactions and in their knowledge of how to care for the customer if me, the doctor, wants to have a healthy, happy patient. Now, I want to say this here, and I know some of my staff is listening to the podcast. I'm extremely grateful and consider myself very fortunate that in the past 2 years, I have found the team that I currently have. No one's perfect, and we all are working on things on a daily basis, but we have a great team together. And I have accepted a long time ago that finding the right people that are dedicated to patient care and that will be dedicated to the practice is not impossible, but it's not easy. It does take a lot of time and a lot of patience, and sometimes you, as a doctor, have to kiss a lot of frogs, as the story goes. Now, this is an issue that is confronting all medical practices today, and it's affecting you, the consumer, the client, the patient. There are some limitations on finding the right people that would fit this medical team role perfectly. So what I'd like to do in this episode is talk a little bit about the ideal qualities of a medical support person, whether it's a front office or back office, And this is what I gathered in my research, and this is what I heard from people that I asked. What would you like the medical team to be like? What I heard is that the medical team members that support the doctor should genuinely care about others. The medical team members that support the doctor should be empathetic and willing to listen to the patient, to your concern. They should be knowledgeable and smart enough to help you, the patient, solve the issue you're having. Whether it's a question about a treatment, a request for medication change, a pharmacy change, communication with the doctor about a side effect, having a question post-appointment that you didn't understand, needing clarification, making an appointment that suits your schedule and your timing needs, etc. Problems are very common and occur very often, and you need staff that's knowledgeable and smart enough to help you solve the issue. And last but not least, what I heard from one person, and I believe that's really an important key factor, and I have a couple of people in my practice who have this quality, is they need to be willing to fight for you and advocate for you with the doctor and the other medical team members when extra time, extra care, or extra services are needed. Sometimes, as a doctor in private practice, and I'm not the only one, other doctors are in the same situation too, I fall prey to a person that interviews really well, turns out to be uncaring, superficial, unable to solve problems, and unwilling to work their way around hurdles, sometimes running quickly and getting distance as fast as they can from hard and challenging work and from their colleagues and demanding clientele. I personally believe the reason we doctors are in the business of practicing medicine and the reason why we have gone through the personal sacrifices we made to become who we are, and the reason we have spent so much time and money to be where we are in our careers, is because as human beings, we believe in being good and kind to everyone. And we first and foremost believe everyone we come across is a genuinely good person. Unfortunately, this is a weakness as team leaders because we doctors easily hire someone we believe in. We see amazing potential for that person, but sometimes it turns out to be a very bitter disappointment, not just for us, but for our team and for our clients. And that's not always a pill that's easy to swallow. Now, one issue that's a problem with the medical team is that doctors might not make the best and strongest leaders because no one teaches us how to lead. There is no such curriculum in our training anywhere in our careers. Not in medical school, not in residency, not after residency. There's no leadership conferences that are specifically targeted to train doctors on how to manage a team unless you want to be an executive. And that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about day-to-day practice of medicine, day-to-day interactions between a doctor and his or her nurses, his or her assistants, his or her receptionists, and his or her patients. But as doctors, even though we don't have this training, we don't have this curriculum anywhere, we are very strong, we're resilient, we never give up. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are today. However, one of our flaws is that in our quest and hard work to become the best we can be, we oftentimes forget we cannot work alone or in a vacuum, and that we depend more than ever on our medical support team. They are an extension of us. And again, doctors are not trained to lead anyone at all. We're not trained, but we're expected to. What's more interesting is we receive no training in developing communication skills to clearly articulate our thoughts and instructions in a manner that is crystal clear without the possibility of misinterpretation by either the nurse or assistant or the patient. We're not trained to communicate. Poor communication is the number one cause of medical errors. Also, we receive no training in how to manage people and handle difficult employee situations. But as team leaders, we are expected to handle any difficult patient, any difficult assistant or nurse, even difficult family members. So I have come to the realization that my team and any medical team that surrounds and supports a doctor is an extremely valuable asset. Likely, this medical team is the most valuable asset a doctor has. I clearly have shifted my attitude to being much more nurturing and tolerant, allowing my team to become the extraordinary group of people, which I know they can be, that works well as a unit with minimal supervision, who ideally can handle difficult situations on their own. Because as a doctor, I want to focus on what I do best: medical care, leave management of extracurricular stuff to others. As a physician who is a leader and whose team functions well, who will lead a team that cares about you, the patient, who has a team that spends time working on your concerns, whether it's medical concerns, administrative concerns, or financial concerns, that's a physician and a team you want on your side. Again, I'm going to repeat this one more time. A doctor who's a good leader and whose team functions well, who leads a team that cares about you, who will spend time working tirelessly on your concerns, whether they're medical concerns, administrative concerns, financial concerns, that is a team you want to be part of. So before I end this episode, I'd like to address one more thing. Over 50 years ago, reimbursement for physicians was significantly higher, and the cost of operating a medical practice was much lower. In today's world of efficiency and productivity, there is zero monetary value assigned to the time that is spent dealing with patient requests that are outside of the doctor's visit. However, the majority of doctors who operate private practices are going concierge for this very reason, because they understand there is value in the services that are provided to the clients before and after the medical appointment. And these services are in no shape or form covered by the medical insurance plan. And here's the reality. Medical clients expect and demand customer service outside of the medical appointment in the form of questions regarding medications, medication refills, pharmacy changes, changing appointment times, canceling appointments same day without being charged a cancellation fee because of many reasons, same day appointments, requesting specific blood tests outside of a medical visit with no diagnostic justification, requesting paperwork like filling up forms for their work, for their medical leave, or for obtaining life insurance. And all of this without expecting to pay any fees. Now, if you, the patient, would have a much more realistic expectation of what can and cannot be done, and if we physicians can be more clear about the monetary value and place a cost on this not covered, non-billable, time-consuming, non-medical services, then I believe perhaps everyone's experience will be much more pleasant, extremely cordial, and the final outcome would be a satisfied client, patient, customer, and a very relaxed and content medical team at the end of the day. I know this is a tall order, and it's not always possible to achieve every single day and with every single patient. However, if both the medical team, including the doctor, and the patient would understand and put themselves in each other's shoes, at the end of the day, the experience would be pleasant, fair, and enjoyable for both. I would like to end here, and I will pick up in my next episode the issue of medical insurance plans and how the skyrocketing premiums have impacted access to medical care, and talk more about that. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next week. If you liked the information you heard and you'd like to hear more, please subscribe and follow my podcast. Should you find the content helpful to not just you, but possibly others, please share it and feel free to leave us a review. You are welcome to join the Facebook group, The Warrior Optimizing Wellness MD. I certainly hope that you've heard many things in this podcast that made you go, wow, I did not know that, or wow, I'd like to know more. So keep listening and I'll keep talking.